Look, I'm going to share something with you that I have recently learned from somebody who's way further ahead than I am in the agency space. I'm talking about an individual who has done probably by this point like multi seven figures in this space. And I asked him the question like, listen, how can I get better at the craft of AI automation? Like, how can I be like more competent? Because obviously, if we play to win. So how can we actually get better at automation? How can we get better at this craft? And I asked him because obviously, I'm always looking to learn and then share this with that share the learnings here with you on the channel. So just to also introduce myself, my name is Jan, and I'm on a mission to make AI agency, like to turn my AI agency into a seven-figure business. And all along the journey, I'm going to be sharing lessons and also teaching you things that I have learned, and just things that I'm learning as well here. So it's a valuable source of knowledge. And as you see, I don't pitch you 997 courses in the description. So hopefully, I'm not being categorized as some sort of a scammer. I'm generally just sharing what I'm learning. And here's the thing. Here's what I have learned. So the thing is, a lot of people in the space, they are in this weird like sort of delusion that there is something different with our space, that there is something different than like what we are actually delivering, like the what we are doing here is somehow different from the typical laws of a business, like principles of business, first principles, and like all the other laws and other industries that are existing. So essentially, what I got as the answer as to how can we actually get just better at the AI automation? So how can we actually just deliver higher quality like services or products? Is that look, if you are like if you're looking to increase your like get better, first of all, I would define better as just pretty much delivering to your clients like a great experience because we are business owners, and even though we use AI as a vehicle of transformation, we should not be obsessed over like the technical and A10s and your Claude codes and everything because in my opinion, we're just delivering value to businesses, and unless we actually focus in providing real tangible value to the business, and doesn't really matter. So I define better. Oh, okay, my pen is not working. So I define better as pretty much something that is making your customer more happy, either by saving them just more time or just money, right? So if you make or save your customer money, or you just save your customer or increase their, you can generate time, so you're only increasing their time, or you just generate them more money, that's going to be just making them more happier. So I would define better as just saving your customers more time and making them more money and doing that process like quickly, right? So that process needs to be quick. So that's how I would define getting better at the automations. So a couple of things that will actually help you get better in terms of the automation is like this is what I have learned. So first thing is that you need to absolutely master systems. And I'm not talking about just basic understanding. I'm talking like really in depth. You need to understand systems theory. So first thing I have learned is that if you want to get better at automations and not just delivering your projects better, you need to learn systems and more specific systems thinking, right? So you need to think in terms of systems. And there is a great book called Thinking in Systems. You can just go and research it. It's a very great book. There's also a course on YouTube how you can actually learn it. But you just need to have the ability of like to just look at the problem. So let's say this is your customer and they have some sort of a, like a problem, right? And you need to pretty much, instead of just seeing this very like helicopter view transformation where they have a problem and then they are left without a problem, right? And here they are just in the state where they are happy because that problem just has been resolved and removed. Like this is a very generic view, but what you need to develop your like as a skill is you need to be able to like instead of seeing like this macro very high helicopter view, you need to literally see everything. And I'm drawing like some system graph here. You need to like see everything in terms of um building the automations as like as a system. Like you need to be able to just see every single part is interacting. I'm just drawing some random system um process here, but you need to understand process mapping. You need to understand like how system work, what does it even mean to have a bottleneck, how to spot bottlenecks, how you can measure the effectiveness of a system, how you can actually understand what system even is. And overall, if you can just understand the theory of systems and be able to think in systems as you're delivering your projects, instead of like thinking, yeah, I just hop on an A10 and I go and build something and I just get some money. If you're being able to think more in terms of of systems, and you're just being able to see the entire flow, the entire automation as a logical cause and effect chain in the form of a system, and you just understand those concepts, as I said, such as metrics, how to track a performance of a system, what a KPI is, what does it even mean to have a bottleneck in your system, what is throughput, what is yield, and all of those technical terms that are in the systems theory. If you understand that, you're getting better. So this is the first point, which is just thinking in terms of systems, right? And now it's the extension right now of systems, which I'm gonna just put as like 1.5 is and essentially just learn. There is a video on my YouTube channel, but just learn mental models and specifically for problem solving, right? So one of the crucial things that you need to understand is how you can apply mental models across like a lot of disciplines and actually internalize them, understand them, and then process information. So let's just say this is like input in the sense of like something is happening as a sensory information that you're receiving. And you need to essentially build like, let's say this is your mind, it's your brain, very beautiful drawing of a brain. Let's just say this is your mind, and you need to equip your mind with as many mental models as possible. So you're just more likely to be right in terms of output, right? So if you want to be better at just developing automations and just building that, I can tell you, you need to just equip your mind to think in terms of like systems. This is actually a mental model, but systems theory is the most important one. But if you just develop a lot of mental models, like understand how to think like an engineer, how to think in terms of statistics, how to be like some basic reasoning models, like for example, first principles thinking, which is a crucial like ability. I'm actually going to put that as a point number two because probably next to systems is probably going to be even more important than systems, or they are just equally important. So yeah, just learn mental models. More importantly, learn systems theory, understand how systems works, how we can apply them, and how we can actually see automation as a system, not just some workflow. Clarify like a lot of mental models and just put a lot of mental models into your mind. So whenever you're facing any sort of issue or you're building a product, you're being able to just be right and have a better output as a process of processing information. So just equip your mind with a lot of mental models from a lot of disciplines. And another thing, which is very important, is learn to think in terms of first principles, right? So this is actually a model popularized by Elon Musk and Charlie Munger. They were, I think, the most famous ones for actually just very pushing the idea of first principles. But essentially, how you identify first principle is you pretty much get to the absolute fundament from a thing from which a thing is known for. So there are a couple of ways you can actually do it. The simple way is like, let's say you have like an assumption about something, right? Let's say like you're struggling to figure out or let's say you're just mapping out your product. Let's say you have a flow where you're just delivering the automation and you're like, okay, what is here? But you can ask why. And usually if you ask why around 5 to 7 times probably, you'll probably get to like root, right? Cause. So if you understand at the first principles what's going on, and then you apply systems theory, you will have a very clear view of what's in front of you. And especially if you want, like being better is just being better. Being better just pretty much means being able to deliver something which is needed from you, right? So if you have automation that you're struggling to deliver, if you just bring it down to first principles, so you just get to the absolute bottom of things. So let's say here's the assumption about your automation, right? Like here's some sort of like V1 of your automation. And you're just going to ask, okay, but so let's say the AI voice, okay, why is maybe not the best question for all the technicalities, but pretty much try to get to like a very, 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 very broad, sorry, not broad, but very, very like a specific fundament of something that from something, from the first thing that something is known from. So instead of, let's say, breaking your system as a, let's say you're saying like AI voice, right? So let's say you sell AI voice agents to, I don't know, clinics or whatever. And let's just say you see your flow as like, yeah, there is a lead and my AI calls it, right? But if you were to break down like this system at first principles, you would have to literally to get like the pretty much okay, so it's not necessarily first principles, but just get to the bottom and like a micro cause and effect chain if you think in terms of systems, which is a very important thing. If you just literally see the lead as like opt-in information on the Facebook page, then like an API call to some sort of software, then the API call to trigger the AI, then the AI is launching your agent, and then the agent is launching sort of a for some sort of a script, then there's a result of that script, and there like you get the point. You pretty much have to instead of looking at it as a, like a very broad thing, just break it down into like core elements of it. So yeah, you're just seeing more clearly and you see what's going on. And very often, if you also apply mental models, such as like some thinking tools, like for example, if you apply razors such as let's say Occam's razor or any other mental model for thinking, you'll be able to spot if you literally break down the entire automation on its first principles and you see everything in front of you and you define a problem properly, which is actually a third point which I already got ahead, but I'm gonna write three because I'm gonna walk you through that in just a second. But if you just break down your entire system into like first principles, something that is pretty much the fundament of the system, and you see the entire flow, and you have great reasoning capacity, you'll be able to spot problems better. But to just close off the topic of first principles, the best example of first principle that I can give you is like imagine you have math, right? And math is like a entire like a very huge like field, right? There is so much to math. There are so many like parts of math. It's just a very big and sometimes complicated field. However, something that can be representation of first principles would be 1 + 1 = 2, right? If you get this wrong, which is like the first principle, you can be the best mathematician in the world. But if in your world, 1 + 1 = like, I don't know, 4, then it doesn't really matter what you have like here. If you don't understand it from the first principles and you don't understand the cause and the fundamental like principles of something, you don't like nothing that you're going to learn further will make any sense to you because you will have a wrong understanding. So this is why it's absolutely crucial to break your business, like the other, sorry, not the business, but map out your entire process and think in systems, use mental models to actually make sense of the systems, break it down into first principles. And another thing is have a great problem definition. So the thing is, after you map out your entire process and you see what's going on and like you see like the like everything in front of your eyes, you need to just be able to think to yourself, well, what is actually the problem here? Like define after you break down the system. Let's say you're struggling to deliver your AI project and you're saying, oh yeah, N8N doesn't work, and then you're like, well, or like AI is, I don't know, a scam or AI doesn't work. Instead of doing that, you just apply the first step, which is understand how to thinking systems map out the entire system in macro and micro processes, then understand like some basic mental models to actually so it can actually reason better. Then go and actually define the first principles of that system, which is microsystems that cannot be further questioned, and then literally look at the graph and say, okay, what is the issue? Right? Right? If you just look at your graph and you think to yourself, okay, what is the issue here? What am I struggling with here? You see the entire system in front of you and you're like, okay, I understand everything. Like I have everything mapped out here. What is the issue? And based on the like actual issue that you see in front of your eyes, and what you see like sorry, on this entire system that you see in front of your eyes, if you have a clearly defined issue, like let's say, I don't know, the AI let's say is not converting. So the conversion rate, let's just say that the conversion rate is just low, right? And that's our problem. The conversion rate is low. But if you have your entire system mapped out, you know what it means that AI is converting at a low percentage because you literally have like your entire system mapped out and you see like the entire flow. So you know where the conversion is happening because you're thinking in terms of like systems, and you're literally seeing the entire automation in front of you. And yeah, pretty much like if you just see if you have a clear problem definition, if you see what's not working and you understand the system and you understand first principles, this is where we move to just last thing, which is just learn minimum viable T. So MVT, which is just minimal. Okay, I'm not gonna write it in full because that's pointless. You just get what MVT is, just minimum viable tech. So you have enough understanding of like N8N APIs, of your Claude code, like after the definition of the problem and the actual breakdown, after you understand what's the problem, you have enough technical skills to like actually solve it, right? So after you see the system, you know what's going on, you know where it's going on, and then if you actually study and like apply first principles, apply mental models, and you define what's going on, and you have a clear problem definition, then you just move to the technical solving your problem. There is a quote from Einstein where he said that if he had an hour to solve a problem, he would spend, if I'm not mistaken, 55 minutes analyzing the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. Because after you understand it, you clearly see what you need to do, and this is where you go and you actually use your technical skills to use it. And the last thing is just iterate. Based on this problem definition, literally, I'm gonna draw a very, very long arrow here. Based on this problem, you need to say set something which is called KPI, which some of you may be familiar with, some of you may be not familiar. But if you have your key performance indicator, which is like pretty much like a Polaris star, so you clearly define where you are, like where when something is working. And if you have a clear definition, let's say here your conversion rate is low, as an example, then your key performance indicator, so like the defined state where something is like acceptable and we can move on. Let's say your conversion rate, I don't know for what system that would be, let's say it would be 50% conversion rate, right? So that 15% conversion rate would be your KPI. And then all you have to do is like, after defining the problem and knowing technical solutions, you have to just pretty much look at the system and with your understanding, set pretty much a hypothesis, right? And this is a hypothesis because I'm not that great at handwriting, so you gotta forgive me. But first of all, you set a hypothesis, so you see, it's a very basic scientific method. You just, okay, no. Actually, 0.5, the most important thing, what a shame, is to observe. So first of all, you observe like, okay, what is going on? What is my problem? What is the definition? What do I know? How could I solve this technically? Then you move. Okay, I have the hypothesis after the observation. You then actually test it. So we just go and test it, right? And here's important thing: test one thing at a time, because if you don't test one thing at a time, then let's say if you change three things at a time, then you don't know what has caused what. So you need to understand cause and effect, right? So here you just have to define clearly cause and effect. So you see the hypothesis, you test it. So you see like, okay, like, let's just put it to the test. And then you just have the result. And it's also quite important to have data on it. So you actually know you actually know what is the result in terms of like numbers, right? Because if properly measured, the numbers don't lie to a certain degree. So you have, let's say, I don't know, you're tracking your conversion rates. And then based on those conversion rates, you pretty much decide, right? Oh, what a shame, I cannot spell decide, right? So then you decide and you just see, okay, are we in KPI? So do we have KPI? Like, did we hit KPI? And if you didn't, if you hit KPI and you smiley face, then you can just pretty much solve the problem, and perhaps you just deliver the client, and you have the know-how to deliver the certain project, and then you can just productize it and scale it, which is a topic for another conversation, which I'm gonna be more than happy to share how I'm gonna be scaling my agency. And then if you're not in KPI, which is probably what's going to happen because it's very unlikely that you're gonna hit it in KPI of the first iteration, then you pretty much take feedback. So you think, okay, what's not working? We have feedback from the data. Okay, what's going on? What we have changed? And depending on how far from KPI you are, the closer you are to KPI, the less you need to change. The further you are from KPI, the more you need to change, right? And then from the feedback, you just go to step number one, and that's called, by the way, scientific method. You just iterate until you hit your KPI. So that's how. That's a very like lengthy 20-minute answer on how I believe you can get better at delivering AI automations. Perhaps that was not something you were expecting. Perhaps you were expecting me to walk you through some, I don't know, NA10 university or whatever. And don't get me wrong, like technical skills here they are very like important, right? So this is crucial because unless you know how to build, you're not going to build anything. But it's also crucial for you to learn how to think in systems, how to use mental models, how to use first principles, how to define cause and effect, how to define a problem, how to iterate, and then yeah, just I mean that's how you get better at solving at AI automation. You just define what you need to do, and then you get it done. Yeah. Bye. Take care. Hopefully it helps.